Well, continuing or finishing up with that thought, that we just have to wrap our minds around how evil these people are. And yes, poisoning our food and drink and somehow getting it out there to be able to be circulated. I mean, it'd be a lot worse. We all know that if there wasn't watchdog groups and individuals out there saying, no, I get what GMO is. You mean they grew the pesticide inside the plant? And then they say, well, it's okay for humans to eat, but the bugs won't eat the plant, okay? And you think we're not going to get toxins, even though lab tests have shown tumors and all this crap on rats. So, I mean, it could be a lot worse if there wasn't. So there's progress, I mean, in the sense that we're holding back the real wave of lethal food and drink that they would like to lay on us. But they've always got bioweapons they could use now that chemtrailing is out in the open. Oh, yeah, we spray what we want at will, and you can't ask us what we're spraying, and you can't ask us what the possible side effects of this spraying could be, like global warming or anything. And the same people that are involved in that are involved in telling us, like Al Gore. I mean, he seems like a nice enough guy. And do people really believe this stuff? I mean, he's putting solar panels on his house. He's saying, that's good. That's good. How about the jet fuel he's using, flying around telling people how bad it is that we've got this carbon footprint? Does he talk about disruptive technology? If not, why not? Okay, how about planned obsolescence? I mean, I'm a guy that likes to keep old stuff. I like to say, I'm not going to invest, buy this vehicle if I can't. It's not something I really want to keep, and be ready to pay to have it fixed. I don't like planned obsolescence. I like stuff that lasts a lifetime that you can repair if it should fail in any way. But, this is the kind of stuff that, these are the people that are ruling over us. And yes, they will kill us. I mean, you make people financially desperate. Yes, of course abortions go up. Women, they say, I can't afford this baby. I'm not going to have it. Or I don't, whatever it is. Okay, there's a lot of reasons. And there's all the other horrors. I'm not going to go back through the long laundry list of horrors out there revolving around this mad, mad, mad world that has been foisted upon us, shoved down our throats, and we're told, accept it as normal, go with the flow, okay, just go out and make your own money, find your own little niche in financial freedom and fit in to this beast system. Conform and comply sufficiently. Even though you don't like it, you got to conform, so you go along with it. I mean, who are we at the end of the day? That's the brute beast they want us to be. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to tell people. You're not a brute beast. Don't you understand? When people don't value themselves as they should, as is proper and fitting, then by default, everybody else is hurt by that action. So when you don't think highly enough about yourself, when you've got low self-esteem for whatever reason, because you've bought into this idea that, yeah, I'm just a brute beast and the best thing I can do is go with the flow and don't fight other people's battles. It's, I'm not poor. I'm well-heeled financially. I got a good job or whatever, and I don't have to concern myself with other people's problems. Okay, they should have done what I did, or maybe they should learn it now or something, but whatever. They don't concern themselves. They don't care about the fact that we're regressing as a society, socially, politically, economically speaking, that it's getting harder and harder and harder, and that's anti-progress. That's not what's supposed to be happening in our society. So we've all got to be honest about that and be honest about facing what it's going to take to turn it around. Taking the bull by the horns. What does it mean to put our foot down? What does it mean to go for the root of the problem, go for the jugular? It means going for the money printing class. We've got to gain control of the Federal Reserve. We, the people, have to be the ones that decide about the issuance of currency. That's it, man. If we don't want 2008, it's documented that over 90% of the American people did not want that bailout. They knew these banksters acted recklessly by dumping all that money on the market and all the subsequent foreclosures that came about. Okay? They knew it. We know these things instinctively. We understand supply and demand. We understand when other people put a demand on stuff, it raises our price. So if that's an artificial demand, okay, if they're manipulating markets and rigging prices, then it stinks to high head. They don't like it. They know it's burden. When you debase their currency, you burden them, okay? And any homeowner in their right mind says, I don't want that ill-gotten gain. I wish that wasn't happening. Okay, that unjust, what they call in real estate terms, they call it an unearned increase. Okay, so it's inflation of the worth of your real estate but it's not based on reality. It's unearned. You didn't do anything to improve the property or anything else. Okay, so it's baseless. But nevertheless, it's reality. And you say, well, yeah, I'll accept it. I'm not going to sell my house for less than the market value, because you know if you want to buy something else, you're going to have to pay that inflated price. You wouldn't care if there was a market reset, a market correction back in 2008, because you say, yeah, now I can go and I'm more free to move, and I can sell my house at a reasonable price, and I can expect to buy a house at a reasonable price in a different area where I might want to live more. Do you get how this thing would work? So they get us convinced that, no, we should just, root for this trajectory we're on, this ever-increasing wealth disparity, when the exploding poverty, and somehow this is going to work out all right for everybody. It's beating your head against the wall. It's insanity, trying the same thing over and over again, knowing it's not going to work. Being able to point to mountains of evidence, incalculable amounts of statistical information and proof that can suggest I'm right. I know what I'm talking about. If society simply solved their problems, we'd all be living a lot cheaper. And a lot cheaper translates to a lot freer. We've got to get that through our heads, and then go and help other people to get it through their heads and understand how this thing works, how we've been duped and tricked. And say, no, we've got to not fixate on the excruciating minutia of the social, economic, and political fraud. We've got to go for the jugular, the root. Don't deflect the attention away from you. Don't divert us. Okay, no. We want to see what's going on with the money printing class and the top political class, like the Congress and Senate, that signs on to this debt. This is the thing we've got to get to the bottom of. We need a reset on this debt. So if I was talking to Donald Trump, I'd say, man, you want to put your foot down? You want to stick your neck out there? Because that's what God's calling on all of us to do. If they want to kill all of us, then if God's willing to let that happen, we've got to be willing that it happen. It's that important, because people are dying. People just as important as you, Donald Trump. That bum in the gutter, man. I mean, just because you guys had different upbringings, you could, any one of us. I mean, life's a gamble, like a roll of the dice. Who knows what kind of karma God says, well, this is the life I want you to have. These are the parents I want you to have. This is the exposure to the world I want you to have. Whatever. God is allowing everything to happen in our lives. We're all have dramatically different upbringings, so we're not to judge the bum in the gutter for his situation. He's a misfit. I mean, Jesus said, that's me. Whatsoever you do or fail to do for the least of these, you do or fail to do for me. So that's grabbing the bull by the horns. So that's putting your foot down, is gaining control of Federal Reserve, saying, no, we're not going to have clowns like affectionately called the Fed, Alan Greenspan, telling the press that nobody can supersede our decisions. Okay, no. Get your ass out of here. You take your money, your printing presses, and we're going to exile you to some island in the South Pacific, beautiful island. Okay, but you could fend for yourself. You can get all the workers with your Federal Reserve notes there to serve you and provide you with all the commodities you want that your heart desires. We don't want you here anymore. You have wreaked such havoc in the land for so long. We're done with you. That's what needs to be told to the Federal Reservists. We've got to get them off our back. Say, no, that's illegitimate debt. Okay, illegitimate politicians signed on to it. Why are they illegitimate? Even though we, the people, hired them, we elected them, and they're called legitimately our politicians, right? Our senators, our representatives, our congresspeople, right? No, they went against the will of the American people. That's what makes them illegitimate, unconstitutional, that debt. So that's what needs to be revisited and reset. We need to see our cost of living go down. We need to see the worth of our tax dollars go up. And that means your cost of living dollars. That's your cost to survive, your cost to exist. That's what needs to go down. Our currency needs to go up in worth, and as our currency goes up in worth, our sense of freedom will go up in worth. Our sense of joy and peace and contentment and security and happiness will increase, will inflate, okay? I know recently I was talking about Max Kaiser not explaining inflation, deflation. I forgot to mention the other kind of increase, inflation. And that would be what they talked about. He touched on this Keynesianism. Very bad. It's an anathema, Keynesian economics. It's all about money printing. Well, it wouldn't have to be so bad, but it is. And the reason is because of the nature of man. You print money and you put it out there and everybody has access to it. They'll just take as much, they're going to hoard it. They're greedy. That's the nature of man, right? So, but if it was flowing in concept, okay, in theory, Keynesianism could work. So just because you print more money, if there is this velocity of currency, the cash flow is circulating in society, it would work. If, all right, thank you, man, for that money. Now you go, oh, I need this service or I need that commodity. So it's passing the buck. But no, it gets stuck like an economic sluice, and it only is going in fewer and fewer pockets. It's getting consolidated. This is the wealth disparity. So out of the aggregate, you get this small number of people that keep getting richer, and that's bad Keynesianism. Good Keynesianism would involve the cash flow. So you can inflate the quantity of currency. But other than that, I mean, if we're talking inflation, most people that I know of have always thought of inflation as cost of living inflation, which is always a bad thing. And under supply and demand, the only time that's supposed to happen if there's a disruption in the supply chain. But if we find easier and easier methods to supply all the things we not only need, but the things we also want, then the things are supposed to go down in cost, okay? Less burden to the everyday people, regular people, okay? That's deflation. That means your currency inflates. It increases in worth. Do you understand how that's a good thing? Currency inflation is a good thing in that sense. Currency inflation may or may not be a good thing when it comes to money printing. And for the reasons I pointed out, it usually never works, at least when you've got corrupt, crony capitalist policies out there that are running the show. And if they had rules in place that said, no, you can't just hoard this money. Or what if they made a rule, say, well, no, I'm against everybody being born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Okay, then that means that's unequivocal. That means nobody gets to be born with a silver spoon in their mouth. If you're opposed to everybody, okay, then you can't be discriminating against anybody. So you say to yourself, I am for anybody that was born with a silver spoon in their mouth. I'm 100% okay with that. Fine, me too. Okay, but if you change your mind, you say, well, if the condition is that everybody then gets to be born with a silver spoon in their mouth because God says so, because it's God's planet, and God rightfully owns everything, including every single human being out there, okay, then I've got to be okay with everybody or nobody being born. So we make a law that says, no, you can't leave your inheritance to your children. What did they do for that wealth even? So I can make a logical argument against you being able to leave an inheritance to your children, right? Do you understand what I'm saying here? Especially if people say, no, I don't want everybody to be born rich, okay? People are so quick because of their training, because of their indoctrination to cut their own throats, to shoot themselves in the foot, to spite their nose, to cut off their nose to spite their face, okay? That's the kind of thing we've been trained to do. And, this comes, then, we talk about this, like David Knight gets into, how he's so opposed to this minimum guaranteed income. Max Kaiser was talking about that. Max doesn't think it's such a bad idea. And I myself don't either. I think it's another way to skin the cat, okay? But it's got to work for everybody. It's got to work. And it could work. Okay, if the money wasn't constantly taken, you can't take from others, okay, in order to do that. So I am wholeheartedly opposed to any kind of socialist scheme, okay, a Robin Hood scheme to take from others to give to others. No. I'm against that wholeheartedly, but through just economic practices, through not manipulating markets, through allowing supply and demand, free market capitalism to work without interference, without subsidies, without bailouts, without price rigging and fixing and manipulating. All these things, okay, it would happen. It's called progress. It happens normally and naturally. So I think I'm about done with this spiel for today, and I'm going to get into some of the current events from this past week and some of the thoughts I've had. So like I said, let's do the opposite of what these evil people want us to do, and let's unite, and let's fix America. And that way we can fix the rest of the world. That's fighting the good fight. That's being a good friend to God. That's it. That's all he asked for. His yoke is easy, his load is light. If you're God's friend, you'll do his will. And his will is anything but hidden. It's the opposite of hidden. It's right out in the open. He does his thing out in the daylight. He speaks his truth. And if we just embrace that truth and be empowered with it, nothing can stop us. We won't care about getting killed by these evil people. I'm not worried about it. That's it. I believe in God. I mean, if I didn't have my belief in God, I'd think he was an a-hole. I need to believe in eternal life. I need to believe there's going to be a reward for being a good and faithful friend to him. That's it. And thereby being a friend to humanity. And if I'm a friend to humanity, I'm a friend to God. And everybody else is too. And we've got to know our worth. We've got to know that we are the priceless treasure. Each soul, each individual human being is what God's after, just friends. He's a collector of friends, people, souls. And he just wants us to be free. He wants us to enjoy our lives. He wants us to have everything we want to have and everything we want to be. He's behind us. And this thing goes on forever. We're going to be learning and forever. That's what eternity is. That's the promise of being a good, upright human being. Okay, doing right in life, being approved from on high. You've got great things to look forward to. In this life, you could be reassured. I mean, that's what a little bit of faith is all about. And we all have to have that. I mean, life would be too scary to think, oh, he just put us here with the stinging insects and biting snakes and the punishing heat and the brutal cold and all the problems and natural disasters and all this. I think God was